All right. What's up? Hello, gangsters, motherfuckers, bastards, dickheads, whatever you are. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Beat Review, the live stream where we listen to beats from you guys and have opinions and stuff about them. Now, I have completely lost the side of my chat window, and there it is. Cool. So the chat is up and running. That's the chat window on Twitch though. So, okay. I'm messing things up immediately. That's great. You just close the dockable or whatever. So, hi, people. Yeah, this is just for looks, by the way, right now. This one doesn't play anything. It looks kind of cool in the background. So, yeah, as I've promised, not each and every, just every other week, we're doing this beat review live streams on YouTube, listening to your music, basically, and trying to give constructive, hopefully positive, but always kind of constructive, criticism and feedback, and just talking about music production tips and tricks and whatever people should change up with their stuff or just keep doing things as always. I don't even know. Everything like that is what we're doing today. And you have been able to send in beats to this show for 24 hours by now. I made this community post and Instagram thing to telling you guys that, yeah, we are doing a beat review. We are listening to music. We are reviewing the beats. And you can send your beats to me. So I have, during these 24 hours, I've seen a lot of emails coming in. I've done something wrong because on my phone I'm getting duplicates of pretty much all the emails. So, yeah, it might be a little bit of a hassle to just look through everything and find the stuff. But we are here. That's cool. We have some of the regular recurring guests showing up in the chat room. We have Rockwell. We have the Dungeon Master, Chris52. Beat Owl, Artisan, Ned Flanders. I'm sorry about that. Flatlanders. Benj, Artisan, Corey Quills. We have a few people in here. That's good. Good to see you guys. Now, would I love to be able to get my chat window up in actual OBS the way it's been done before? Yes, I would have loved that. Does it seem to be the case right now? No, it doesn't. And I don't know why. Stop streaming. Let's not click that one. Settings might be the thing. No, maybe not. It used to just show up as a window in OBS. Now it doesn't. So I need to use the web browser to see the comments. Having everything running in OBS was way easier. So can we just spend a second to get that sorted out? Maybe we can, and if we did, I would be a happy guy. Docs, chat, boom. There we are. Whoo, that's cool. Everything is up and running. That one works. That one seems to work. That one seems to work. And I don't know about this one. Yeah, that seems to work too. Nope, it's not a live picture. It's just, yeah, the camera froze for some reason. It's actually not a camera, it's my iPhone, but whatever. Oh, maybe we need to unlock it. Well, fuck that. That camera just doesn't work, but this one does. This one does. Corey loves the reels spinning. Yeah, me too. It's pretty much just for looks for this, but it's also a way for me to test it out. Last time around, I used that one, like 2 weeks ago. The tape just broke in multiple places, and I had to take it out and tape it together and do all the stuff. So now I just want to make sure to run the entire thing on this speed and see if it goes the entire way around without breaking. because that would be cool. Who submitted today's copyright strike? Yeah, we are getting a lot of those. But as long as we're not getting copyright claims, I guess that's fine. Copyright strikes. There's a difference between the strike and the claim. The claim meaning that the maker of the music, the producer, has already uploaded it and like released it, and the service that that producer used claims the monetization from the video, basically. And that's an automatic process. I understand that, and it's not really an issue. But whenever it becomes a strike, I get 3 strikes, and then the channel is totally deleted forever. So I think whenever anything like this turns into an actual copyright strike, we're just not doing this anymore. Well, yeah. Artisan, that's not handy. The machine keys, the machine on the keys, MPC keys 37. Well, yeah, that's not a good look. You can see that from there. Okay, you can. So that's not the way it's supposed to be set up. I was using machine, working on it like this. Then I realized I need a little bit more space for the keyboard when I'm gonna compute. So that will have, no, not that. Okay, it shows on that one too, of course, my bad. So we're gonna move that one up there. Or maybe even, okay. Maybe even like this. So it doesn't have to lean on the MPC. It leans on the shelf instead. That's better. Thanks. But we're not here to talk about my desk setup. That's for a different video entirely. But we are having some people coming in. Let's welcome Blaze Beats, Symphonic Beats, Salberts, I think I mentioned you, maybe not, and also Carbon Vibes. Cool. Nice to know that we're all among friends, you know? Because that's basically what we're becoming. Day by day, week by week, stream by stream. Mango C4 also showed up. That's cool. So, as I mentioned, I did something wrong with the email thing, so I have double the amount of... No. That was probably just on my phone. Okay. On the computer, I'm not having duplicate versions of every single email. So this is going to be way easier than I thought. So August 25th today. So we're going to take submissions from that one to that one. And I can say this much. We have more beats in the lineup here than I'm going to be able to play. For sure. It's not like a crazy amount. I'm not talking like 30, 40, 60, whatever. But there's more beats here that I'm going to be able to listen to and review today. So let me just make that clear too. If you just checked in on here, we're gonna find a way to choose beats by random. Sometimes I'm just gonna pick one. Sometimes I'm gonna ask you guys for a number, and then I'm gonna count and whatever. So no matter if you sent your beat like 10 minutes ago or 10 hours ago, you will still have the same chance to be played, if that makes sense. And during the entire stream, you are able to send in emails too, and that's normally what happens. I'm getting a lot of submissions as we go, and that's also cool. But the more beats I'm getting, the less chance you have to get picked, you know? And this seems to be a thing that people actually cares about, and I do understand that, but it's really, really hard for me to find a system here that works. So this is what we're doing for now. Okay? Too much gear. In here? Not by a long shot. We need more gear. I found this place in my setup with my gear that I don't really have any analog synths that I use on the daily. And I would love to have some sort of I mean, in the best of all worlds, a polyphonic analog synth of some sort. You know, something from Moog would be nice, something like that. I do have a few analog synths that are not hooked up right now, but they're all like monophonic and not, you know, one or two or maybe three oscillators. So a part of me kind of wants a proper polyphonic analog synth. But yeah, wants and wishes and needs are not always the same thing. So, and that one keeps spinning, so that's cool. Back to the email. I think it's time to just dive into this and start listening to music. Play some of these submissions that I'm talking about. Whoa. Sorry, misclicked right there. I might have that one. Okay, let's put that one on top. Hold on. Boom. That's not the right email. Whatever, let's just make one. Here, plus, and go. Text. Beat review at accuratebeats.com. That's nice. Send beats to. Could I do a little bit of formatting, a little bit of editing? Can we do... That makes sense, right? That text right there, easily readable, for sure. Let's do that font. Boom. Okay. Hold on. This one needs to be... It's kind of funny to have it like that, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think something like that makes more sense. Where though? I really don't know. Can't I have like a drop shadow? Could help a little bit. Color 1. Is that the text or the background? Okay. That's beautiful. So beautiful. Of course, we got to do that for the entire thing. Let's just... Graphic design 101. Awesome. So you are still able to send in your emails to me, just or to the stream, I should say. Send beats to Accurate Beats, beat review at accuratebeats.com. Boom. Not easy on the eyes. Well, right now, I think that's beautiful. We could make it even better. Because if that's color 1, the other one needs to be color 2, so we can do... Yeah, that's not going to work. Oh, I love it. Okay, but seriously, it's kind of hard to read, so let's do... Can I just reset everything to white instead and be like a normal person? Yeah, now you can probably read what it says. Top left for sure. Cool, that's left for you guys. Okay, so we need to focus. We need to focus and get back to this. From the 24th. Okay, so it's from there to there. And there are coming in beats right now, so cool. Advertisement from UVI. We can delete that one. So I'm going to do something like this. I'm just going to pick one. Let's do this one. Oh, it's from one of the regulars. This one comes from Moldy Thoughts, who's named something completely different in the chat. Moldy Thoughts, here you are. The email says, I was sitting in front of my gear, no motivation to put some work into a sequencer. So I made a little loop as time. So I made a little loop as timer on the SP404 Mark II and was putting layers of jams with VSTs over it. In the end, there was an instrumental without drums and a Vince Staples freestyle flowing over the bass. It was dope like that, but on the next day I put some very human and sloppy drums over it. Hope you and everyone else in the chat is fine. Greetings from Moldy Thoughts. Cool. So the first submission comes from Moldy Thoughts. I think that's as clear as day. So let's open up VLC, drag it in, and have a listen.
I'm just a nigga with a black vendetta and a black own business in a black rap sweater back and back. White privilege in a big body Benz with a glass black tinted. Kiss my whole black ass if you can't get with it. I'm a whole asshole nigga. Ask Nicole nigga. Ask Vignon and my two big sisters with my big black fist with them blisters in it from that wood grain wheel. With the wheel keep spinning and the world keep turning and my blacks keep burning at the stake. But we still talking about getting paid, talking about fucking hoes, talking about what you bang, talking about Crips and Bloods, talking about where you from, talking about what you did. Like somebody give a shit, do some shit for your home, do some shit for the kids. Instead of talking about yourself, little nigga, use a bitch. Instead of talking about yourself, little nigga, use a bitch. Instead of talking about yourself, little nigga, use a bitch. And I'm straight from 65th, Lil Fade was the name till I growed. Only goes by the name mama gave. Niggas sweet in the street like they peach marmalade. See the fuzz, see the judge, then they start to the buzz. Tell the police where he live, who won't show your brother love. Little nigga, use a bitch. If my black lives matter, motherfucker, stop killing. If my black lives matter, motherfucker, stop snitching. If my black lives matter, motherfucker, start business in your hood instead of letting fucking Starbucks in it. If my black lives matter, then respect all women. If my black lives matter, don't neglect our children. If my black lives matter, if the police take my shit with a pistol, don't march, go kill her. Little nigga, use a bitch. All these lights, all these drones, what's the Star Wars homes? And them true religion jeans, ain't no Star Wars road. You ain't runway ready, you ain't gunplay ready. God real in me coming, hope you Sunday ready. I never drove one Chevy, I went beaming to Mercedes. My mama had a beat, but selling reefer in the 80s. Levi's and A-Wayne, still from the A-gang. Used to be at rallies back when Stormy was my main thing. Had a 22 in the TK proof fleece, 22 in the TK fluid. Had a 22 in the TK proof fleece. Used to have depression, used to have a couple mood swings. Real shit, now I'm on some bottom with the deal shit. Not here, not a nigga, not here.
Yeah. So I think you guys know this by now, but I just gotta point it out just because I'm playing about 2 minutes of the tracks because, you know, things could easily get out of hand and people are sending in like tracks that are 7 minutes long and we're all having an issue. This track was cool. Moldy Thoughts. You have sent through a lot of beats ever since this series first started. To me, this is not your strongest submission, style-wise, when it comes to me and my personal taste. It's not a bad production, but I'm noticing a few things here that kind of bothers me, to be honest. I don't want to be too negative in the beginning of a stream like this, and I'm not going to be too negative. That's not what it is. But it feels to me like you had this moment. As you said, you made a loop without drums, and then you added the rap, and then you added the drums afterwards in kind of a creative flow, and everything's cool. And it is. What I'm noticing here, though, just to me right now, listening on headphones, by the way, it's good. It grows on you. Like the more I listen to it, the better I kind of like it. But in terms of the mixing, and I'm not talking about it's not mastered and it's not, you know, to the level that it should be, because it is. It's loud and snappy and cool. But to me, like the drums are way too quiet. And because there is so much cool stuff going on with the Rhodes piano, so many notes, so much like spiciness and stuff, tension and release and all that. I want that instrument to be a little bit, lower in volume and more of the drums. The bass line is kind of meh, and it just lives there. And also, I feel like, I don't know this song in particular, but I feel like the rapping is not totally 100% tight on the beat, which also makes someone like me kind of like notice that and think too much about it and making it a bigger thing than it is. Maybe, but I think I would have preferred this beat as an instrumental, straight up. It would just be, I think that would be more fair to the track, to the beat itself. The beat is cool and everything that's going on is like good stuff. But since the volume is a little bit, to me, a little bit, the balance of the different instruments is basically what I'm talking about. The balance is just not there for me. I want more of the drums with the swing and all that, because that's cool, and a little bit less volume when it comes to the Rhodes and all the melodic stuff, especially together with that type of rap. The pitch is fine. It's cool. I don't have anything to complain about, and I like these whole syncopated things, and the feeling of it is nice. But just take all the volumes down to 0 and go from there. Open up with the drums and then bring in the stuff to the point where it feels nice and natural without like taking the overhand. Or like the overhand is not even how you say it in English, but yeah, the volume of the keys is just too much.
Little nigga, use a bitch. Instead of talking about yourself, little nigga, use a bitch. Instead of talking about yourself, little nigga, use a bitch. And I'm straight from 65th. Lil Fade with the name till I grow. Don't go by the name mama gave. Niggas sweet in the street like they peach marmalade. See the fuzz, see the judge. Then they start to the buzz. Tell the police where he live. Go on, show your brother love. Little nigga, use a bitch.
I love all the ideas here. The track itself and all the creative ideas and everything you did is awesome. It's really good. But it comes out as different. It comes out differently than just good, because it feels like there's space where there shouldn't be space, and then there's no space because there's too many notes and just the volume. But sure. HBR36, in my opinion, it feels that a lot of space should done the mixing. Just volume and panning. Yeah. Panning doesn't exist in my world anymore. So I'm all about frequency ranges and volume. And here, I mean, there could be more bass, maybe, but just in general, I guess if you look at the waveform of this, you're going to see the snare hitting out of it, I guess. The snare is going to stand out a little bit sometimes. But like the main instrument is this cool Rhodes thing that just is nice, but it's just too much of it in terms of volume. Has any of my submissions been played today? What are you talking about? This is the first submission we listened to. I took the liberty to just talk a little bit shit in the beginning here. But yeah, I think Moldy Thoughts is talented and is good and he knows what he's doing. This might just be a case of him being a little bit, excited and just he just kept working on it and just added stuff and without really controlling. Like sometimes you just gotta snap out of it, zoom out and just think about how does this really sound? All the ideas in there, all the notes and everything, cool. And I'm not talking about like, do a little bit of compression here and take out a little bit of the 1200K range. No, it's just basically turn down the volume of the Rhodes and everything like that. Turn up the drums a little bit. The rapping is cool, but is it 100% tight on beat? I'm not sure. Well, that's the first beat for today from Moldy Thoughts. Thanks a lot for sending this one through. really cool stuff, and a nice way to start a stream like this with someone that we know since before, and also a beat that I think is not your strongest work, but a track built upon really, really good ideas. Something just didn't really come through on the mixing production part of it. I'm talking about minor tweaks, just do this and that, and then it's going to be fine, and it's a fire beat for sure. Now, you had a different email than what I'm used to, so over there, boom, marked as played. Cool. So beats are coming in. We're getting more beats. Okay, yeah, the rap was a freestyle. So that also kind of adds to the feeling of it not being 100% tight, because a freestyle is a freestyle. Hey, it's the guy here who did the timestamps on the last beat review. And I'm pretty sure that's Vida Beats, isn't it? Who just goes through and just makes timestamps of stuff. That's, so much worth it. I'm saying a few things wrong, which makes him write things wrong. Someone was called ECJ, I think, and that was the word easy and then J, and it became like ECJ. And I can't blame him. I mean, how could you do something else, But the fact that someone does that, even if it's maybe not for every stream, it's fantastic. I appreciate it. Now, I'm going to try to, I don't do this much, but I'm going to try to find a name here that I don't recognize since before. And it's not like I remember all the names, but normally I'm picking beats by random, like totally randomly, but this time around I just want to hear someone who hasn't been played at all. Now I don't even know. People have like normal names. So Kane TV just came in. I'm not gonna pick you right now. That's Oh, we need to start down here. My bad. We need to start down there. So let's do this one. I think this name is new to me. If it's not, it's not the end of the world. We're gonna keep picking beats by random. But right now I'm doing whatever I do. Tell me that I'm doing it wrong, please. This is from Kid Sonic, who says, "Easy man, been a fan of yours for a while. This beat was produced on the MPC 500 and under the potential alias God Bless and pseudonym Prophet the God. Much like RZA has Bobby Digital and Ghostface Killah has Tony Stark. I don't usually produce hip-hop. My genre is drum and bass, deep, minimal, and funky. Think DLR, Alex Perez, Genic, Molecular, etc. I don't know any of that. Alex Perez, I think, is a name I've heard before, but yeah. The way I got to that lo-fi sound on the sample was by using a technique that a lot of people who used SP1200 used, in which I take a sample that's sped up and I pitch it down a lot. There are no plugins, just the MPC 500. Keen to hear your thoughts. God Bless. AKA, okay, this is, Okay, so this is a link to a Google Drive audio file. Cool. Let's download that. It's downloaded. Let's open it in Finder. Let's drag it into... I don't know what I'm narrating myself, but yeah. Here we are. Next beat made on the MPC 500 by someone who does drum and bass normally. And you know, that old trick of sampling something high pitched, like sped up and then pitching it down just to save on memory space. People used to do that, and it creates a specific type of sound, which is kind of cool, to be honest. God bless. Let's go. All right. That's about 2 minutes of that. Cool stuff. You know, if you hadn't told me that this was made on an MPC 500, I would say that this was made on some type of vintage sampler. Or maybe the SP. I don't know. You can definitely hear that, you know, whenever you work on Machine or any of the newer MPCs or a DAW, you have so much control of a lot of things. You can apply, you know, different layers of effects on things. You can like edit the waveform by looking at it. And that's not really the case on something like the MPC 500. To a certain extent, sure, but it's still, you don't have the same amount of control. So take the snare drum on this one, for instance. Now I lost the chat. Oh, okay, there it is. I mean, take the snare drum on this one, for instance. Normally a snare drum, you want to edit the snare drum so it rings out and it just fades out or whatever. So it's like, psh. In this case, it's like, psh. You know, you can obviously hear when the audio sample just ends. And that entire thing has a specific sound to it, and it feels kind of cool coming from my kind of background. You know, we all listened a lot to music that sounded like that. And also that was processed that way too. As someone pointed out, you're losing a lot of the high frequencies and it becomes a little bit muddy and dirty and whatever. It's kind of cool. It's also kind of lo-fi in a way that everyone doesn't really understand, but whatever. This is cool. It's a cool production in general. And you're new to the genre, working with drum and bass and stuff. So doing something on this lower tempo might feel frustrating for you, but you got the swing, you got the feeling, everything is in there. My point of criticism here is that, you know, there's just a lack of arrangement in general. In other words, it's really repetitive. We're closing in on the end of the tape. That's cool. And it worked just fine. Nothing broke. Good stuff. So the fact that it's really repetitive makes it, you know, it makes it the difference. And the track itself is 3 minutes and 49 seconds. So we heard 2 minutes of pretty much the same loop applied with a filter applied on a part of it, which is a trick that you use to create a little bit of variation, but it's still the same loop, you know. Let's just jump in at the like 2.5 minute point and see if anything happens. No. And also when the loop starts, there's like 2 milliseconds of silence, and then it becomes that's kind of cool. It creates this tension and this backbeat flowing thing. I don't hate it. It's cool. I mean, the piano and the bass line is really what makes this beat sound like old school hip hop also. The drums are what they are, of course, but having that kind of piano chords and that type of bass line, it kind of sends an emotion and a feeling. And I haven't used the MPC 500 at all myself, but I know it's not like using any of the more modern stuff. Someone said it's 18 years old by now. The aka Akai MPC 500 is 18 years old this year. So already vintage. I don't know when gear becomes vintage. That's an interesting question. I thought about like bringing back my Mini Brute 2S into the studio, and I found my video on it. That was 7 years ago. So, I mean, the Mini Brute 2S is not a vintage synth, but it's 7 years old, so that's something. But yeah, the bass line, the piano is cool, and the beat itself, the production, I don't have anything to complain about. In this kind of genre, it's supposed to sound old school and whatever. My only complaint is the repetitiveness. It's just one single loop. Playing that and having someone like, you know, CL Smooth or someone rapping over it. In that case, it works as a song, but as a beat in itself and as a piece of instrumental music, kind of want more of it. But it's not bad. It's not bad. And the bass line does so much. And then, I mean, this is smart. Doing this. Applying a filter on the piano and the bass. It creates a different kind of vibe. It does. But especially from a producer, a beat maker's perspective, it's kind of obvious what you did. It's just the same loop and you just applied a filter, and it's something, but it's not enough, to be honest. Nice production. Welcome to the genre of sample-based hip-hop. You know? For a first try, you kind of nailed the style of the genre perfectly. The fact that I'm sitting here and talking about the arrangement and the repetitiveness of it, I mean, fuck that. If you don't know anything about making beats for a hip-hop kind of in the hip-hop genre, this is good stuff. Hands down. Martin says, you know what it needs? Boom bap trumpet. Yeah, for sure. A boom bap trumpet, just 1 or 2 notes with a lot of delay. Yeah, for sure. Almost Cypress Hill vibes. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool. And again, I gotta put the emphasis on that. Welcome to the genre of sample-based hip-hop. Not that name, but the name was God Bless, or Prophet to God. Cool. Good work. And thanks a lot for submitting this one. Having a proper old school beat like that made on the MPC 500 is kind of a blessing, to be honest. Trumpet or saxophone and scratches, maybe a little B section. Yeah, for sure. A B section is what I'm talking about. Just a variation that makes a little bit of a difference to anything. Just some type of change up. Doesn't need to be a fully fledged B section, but something that just Mango C4, shout out to Cypress Hill. I just saw them live yesterday. That's cool. Even though at work the other day, I listened to just in the background Cypress Hill doing the Tiny Disc concert. Not very impressed, but it's cool to hear all those old tracks, for sure. So we have played 2 beats. We need to speed this up. We need to wrap this up? No, we need to speed this up. Let's run into this one. Rush, Don't Run. That's also a name I don't remember since before. How come I didn't find you like 10 minutes ago? Rush, Don't Run. Rush, Don't Run in one word. Rush, Don't Run. Hope you check this out. I used the main sample and then added a crazy synth over the top with some crunchy boom bap drums. Ableton stock, surprisingly. Cheers. Okay. Ableton stock drums doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing. You can use pretty much whatever if you're good enough, you know? You said a main sample and a crazy synth. And the drums. Cool. Let's go. Okay. So, to me, I have 2 different ways to think about this track in general. I mean, let's divide the track into 2 different things, basically. Did my mic just got... No, I turned down the volume here. So that's me being confused about my own setup. That has never happened before. So yeah, let's think about this track as 2 different things at once. First of all, the beat without the synth, and then the beat with the synth. To me, if you really need a synth line like that, which could be really cool, it does need a little bit of editing when it comes to like the notes, and it needs to be fixed because you have some notes in there that doesn't really make sense. So if you want to add some type of like top line melody on top of a beat like this, I don't think, there are really no rules in this. You can do whatever the fuck you want, but to me, don't start the first few loops with that synth. Let the listener like hear some type of intro and whatever. The intro was really cool, by the way. So the intro, and then introduce the drums and like introduce the listener to the overall vibe of the track to kind of get into the mood, understanding everything that's going on here with it, because there's a lot. The vibe itself is like dark and mysterious and kind of cool. The drums reminds me of like the soundtrack to Matrix. Kind of hip-hoppy, but not like obviously so. More garage drums, whatever. And then whenever the time comes, introduce the synth. As you did over here in the longer section. We had like a long section without the synth, and I got into the vibe of it, and I just got into the feeling of the track, which is good. It's a good track. It's a good beat. It's a solid thing. The drums are pretty much fire. I don't say that a lot, but yeah, the drums are really cool. And the overall production with the chops and everything going, I like it. It's great. The synth has a lot of potential, but it's not really there, to me. So Mango also says, I think the synth just needs a bit of rearrangement, fine-tuning. Yeah, you can introduce a synth line like that that's a little bit spicy and playing a little bit outside of the scale. That's fine. In this case, I got a little too much of it a little bit too early. Because this is good. The bass note together with the piano chops and everything like that, and the drums just transcends a feeling, for sure. We often touch on movies, I know, but this is also something that could be worked into a movie easily. Or like a darker kind of video game, for sure. Like imagine playing Silk Song with this. Not that I've played Silk Song, I'm not one of those YouTubers, but a game like that and this track works flawlessly. And I don't want to hate too much on the synth because it has potential and it's cool, but it doesn't work in this form. But the idea of it is not bad. It adds a really interesting type of melodic language here that wasn't really there in the rest of the track. So I think it's a good thing to add, but it needs to be tweaked a little bit. Some of the notes needs to be, whatever. And maybe don't start with it. Don't use it in the beginning. So this is at the 35-second point, so this is where the intro kind of goes into the full track. And that, to me, it feels like a hook, like the chorus of the track. But in this case, when it's a little bit off, don't scare the listener away. And I think that's what you're doing with this. You're scaring the listener away. Because this loop right here, these loops right here, just solid stuff. And the chord progression that becomes the thing, bam, ba-da-ba, dum, bam, ba-da-ba. It's good. I'm a big fan. Arrangement-wise, not perfect. Goblin, I like how it barks, but overall too loud. Yeah, that's also true. Kane TV disagrees. He really likes the synth part. Cool. I could, with some minor tweaks. I could love it. Almost sounds like a Black Ops zombie soundtrack to me. Yeah, that could also be what it is. Definitely. Valen says that synth came from another planet and had too much coffee. Well, that's also a way to put it. I'm trying to put it in a more, in a nicer way. Oh, we're forgetting about that camera. Am I the only one that thinks that camera is kind of cool? I know that thing going on with the camera doesn't look cool, but it's real. This is the setup. This is what I'm looking at. So, okay, again, that's the third track for today. We need to speed it up. So this was from Rush Don't Run. A cool submission, and the overall production here is solid. The fact that I'm like complaining about this little synth, fuck that. This is a cool production. It's good. So now let's take an email right here. Let's go up and down the list and let's pick this one. Just a name, no text, nothing. Terrence. A beat from someone called Terrence. Doesn't that sound interesting? Kind of think it does. No words, nothing like that. Let's just play the track. Obviously not that track.
I mean, at this point, you don't even got to question what we're here for. Free the world, free the world, free the world, huh? You did. Crossing them cages all over. Obi, one and only. Hey, you're not minding, it's good, it's understood. I'll get us out of the hood, leather and wood, yeah. I don't fit into their standards, nor wish I could. Oh, man. Now we up to something. This one of the ones I kill before we even get the chance to finish the production. Wow. Look, I come up with hits without percussions. I turn nothings into somethings. This is what you've been missing, is it? They're hard to find right under your eyes. You just have to pay attention. But it ain't make no difference. Cause every day we was working, busting like fucking dishes. Y'all don't get it, bitch, I'm on a mission. Like a group of Christians, trying to spread the vision. If no one get it, I get it. This fucking world's a prison, full of limits and people who never mind their business. Y'all ain't listening, can I get a witness? Hugs, kisses, and curses from some unwritten verses. Cause if I said it, I meant it. Hit record would be perfect. Yeah, hit record would be perfect. Don't even ask me what's up, just assume I've been working on never working, which makes these rappers nervous. But don't start hurting, I'll ghost right for an extra service. And if your song don't touch my soul, then that shit is worthless. Fuck whatever purpose, even if the numbers working. Doors locked, throw some sore spots. This is Fort Knox. Every time your boys drop, but spit it out like Clorox. I know you hear me talking, or not. If you had anyone to love, I'll lead you on now. But you're not minding, that's good, it's understood. I'll get us out of the hood, leather and wood, yeah. I don't fit into their standards, nor wish I could. Just love me now while you can, you know you should, hey.
And that's not even me stopping. That's the end of the file. Cool stuff. Definitely. This is going to be hard to talk about. Mostly because I can't find much to complain about, honestly. This was good freaking stuff. I would love to hear this beat without the rap again. You are more than welcome to send in anything. Remixes, you yourself rapping, I don't care. But this beat in particular would be super cool to hear without all that rapping going on. I also asked who this is, and someone says, Outcast-esque? No. Andre? No. That's not Andre. Is it?
Minute, hit record will be perfect. Yeah. I turn nothings into somethings. This is what you've been missing.
Nah. I don't know. The production here reminds me so much of Kanye West whole like high school dropout era, which is one of my... No, I don't want to say that it's one of my favorite albums because it's not true, but it's one of the albums that I have listened to the most, I could say. Yeah, that could be said officially for real. That's true. And it feels like a beat from the College Dropout. You know, the last track where he just talks about stuff, having a beat in the background, could be this one. It reminds me of the Through the Wire beat too, a lot. To me, it's solid. I don't need all the trap shenanigans with the snares, and things could be done on the low end, definitely. But using a sample like this, allowing the entire thing to be this busy and this kind of in your face, I think that's cool. If you need a rapper on it, it needs to be someone who writes the lyrics, writes the song around that beat. And this was a remix of something. So you just took an acapella and just slapped it on there, and it kind of worked. But for my personal taste, if I would make this into a song with a rapper, I kind of want the rapper to be slower. You know, just saying fewer words, basically.
They're hard to find right under your eyes. You just have to pay attention, but it ain't make no difference.
But the whole 808 thing in this genre, I'm not sure. The sample flip, cool. I would love to see a different arrangement on the drums in general because I'm old school and stuck in my ways and whatever. Grumpy old guy, but this is good. It sounds good.
Every day we was working, busting like fucking dishes. Y'all don't get it, bitch. I'm on a mission. Like a group.
And you know, if you would have done that, but instead of using the trap style of drum programming, doing it more like Kanye, that would appeal to me better. But yeah, it's definitely not Andre. Yeah. But, you know, we can say it in every stream. I miss the old Kanye. We all do, I think. Maybe Chance the Rapper? I don't know. I haven't heard him a lot, but could be. He doesn't say it in the beginning.
I mean, at this point, you don't even got to question what we're here for. Free the world, free the world, free the world, huh? He did. Crossing them cages all over. Obi, one and only. Hey, you're not minding, it's good, it's understood.
Well, it's not bad. It's a little bit too busy, but the Netflix documentary about Kanye is super sad. I haven't seen it, but it doesn't surprise me. To me, it feels like everything about his life nowadays is just sad. He's not well, you know. It's a sick person, and you know, everyone doesn't treat him like he's a sick person. But he's clearly not well, but we can't take the legacy away. High School Dropout was a phenomenal album at the time, and I still think it holds up. But it's good. So this production in general, you know, let's just move along. I don't have much to say. It's a nice track. Style-wise, I would love to see it go a little bit differently, but you know, using samples like that is difficult because it easily becomes too busy, and I think you are kind of on the edge there. It became a little bit too busy, maybe. So old school type of drums would have helped, not to fill up the entire low end like that, and not using the dun, 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 snare things. But what do I know? You know? This one, JRZ Beats. Hi, Accurate. Happy to be back listening to the beat reviews. This is going to be the outro track of my next album, and I made everything from scratch with my buddy. First of all, I read body. We could go a different kind of way here, but no. I made everything from scratch with my buddy. I already have the rapper lined up for this, but wanted to include a version with Nipsey Hussle vocal included. Okay. Feel free to play whatever version you want. Okay, mainly looking for feedback if the hook has too much going on. Mix isn't fully finished, but it's about 90% of the way there. So honestly, I'm gonna download both of the files because I can't make out what they say. That seems to be just a beat. Okay. So to me, this is cool. He already has a rapper lined up for it, so it's going to be a rap song. And this should be the instrumental. And he wants us to have opinions about whether the hook is too busy or not. And without even listening to it, my advice, or what I would say, is that it all depends on what the rapper is doing on the chorus. You know, if it's like a rap hook, might be too much. If it's not, if it's just a few words, just a simple, you know, Brother Ali kind of hook, that's one thing. But yeah, I don't think he did everything with his body, though. I don't think so. Let's have a listen. JRZ Beats. So, okay, that's about 2 minutes of it. Let's get into it. First of all, this is good. We are talking about beats on a high level for sure. JRC beats, good stuff. I salute you. That's good. First of all, my thing that I want to complain about is the kick drum. In this case, I would just take a little bit of time, just go in there. I don't know what you use or whatever, but if you could somehow copy the drum track over to another one and just add a different bass drum on underneath this one. You have a great bass drum with a lot of boom, right? You have the boom, but you don't have the sorry. You have the kick, you have the punch of it, but I just want a little bit of more low end, a little bit more sub bass on the kick. In this track in general, I don't want to talk too much about mixing, but to me it feels like there's a lot of low end. There's a lot of bass, but there's not an obvious bass line in terms of note, 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 note. You know, the bass is more like an overall thing in the low end, which is cool. I don't have anything to complain about, but I want some more punch in the low end, just to fill it up, to have it in your gut, you know, to feel it in your stomach. Adding just a little bit of sub bass somehow, adding a different layer of kick drums or whatever you want to do, would help this a lot. That's what I think. And I'm not an expert. That's just my opinion right now. It feels like you have the oomph, but you don't have the yeah. So that's the first thing. The drum programming with the toms and the cymbals and stuff, sometimes using could be really corny, and it feels like, yeah, you just took a drum break and you just whatever. You did it in a great way. It's great work. The drum programming in general, a huge fan. Awesome stuff. And you got this whole, it sounds like it's sampled. And that you had to do a lot of processing to kind of rescue the sample and then use it. And that's a cool thing if you just made this one together with your body from scratch. There's no samples or anything. Job well done. Now, you were asking about the hook being too busy, and my simple answer is the first thing I said before goes for this, to me. This works as a hook for me, but then you need a hook like I mentioned Brother Ali. I don't even know if that's the best. Think about like kick push with Lupe Fiasco. It's not too many words, and it's just an obvious hook being kick, push, kick, push, kick, push, kick, push, coast, whatever it is. Something like that would work on this. If you have a rapper coming in there with a full like rap chorus, I think it's too much. In this case, what could be really cool in terms of arrangement, depending on who you are and how you work, could the hook itself be instrumental? Like you have 16, 24, whatever bars, and then the chorus of the track, the hook itself, is instrumental. That's something we don't hear too often these days, and that it could be really cool for this. Could be really cool. Or don't allow the rapper to go like full like lyrical mastermind on the hook. I think that could destroy the entire thing. It's beautiful. It has a really cool vibe and a nice feeling. So destroying everything you put into the hook with someone going like line after line of rap, I think that could destroy the entire thing. I could also be wrong, but that goes for everything I'm saying. So if we play around with the idea of the hook being instrumental, then you could add even more, you know? You could add even more stuff. You could do like a sawtooth synth on top of it going, a Dr. Dre type of lead in the hook itself. Even if you allow the rapper to say a few words, that could be done just to create an overarching feeling of, this something actually happens with the music. Beat Owl says the kick drum could use a few ghost notes here and there, but the rest of the drums, fire. Accurate takes his time like no other. Love you for that, homie. Much respect. I know we're talking too much about stuff, but that's what we do. JRC Beat says, that is something I have in my notes already. What do you have in your notes already? An instrumental chorus? Could be cool. Or the kick drum shenanigans, maybe. Great production, great work. Again, the level of beats, up there. This just deserves a good rapper. And I love the fact that you kept the hi-hat kind of quiet. That's a win in my book. I don't know what's up with people who just slams the hi-hat going super loud over the entire track. The hi-hat is supposed to be there, but it doesn't need to be in the forefront. Okay, the kick. Just a little bit more low end. That's all I'm saying. Fire track. Fire truck? Yeah, that's a fire truck. JRC Beats, that's all I got for you. The kick drum could be improved. Don't allow the rapper to do too much in the chorus and you're going to be totally fine. Great beat. Just great. So we have more. Let's take a more recent one. Let's do this. Sarko. Hi, Accurate. Hope you're doing well. I am. I'm doing really well. I'm doing a beat review right now. Having a great time. I'm sending you this beat I made 8 years ago. I stopped making beats about that time because my PC died and I didn't have any backups for my beats. And I lost the will to start over. But it's always in the back of my head. Anyways, I love your channel. Sarko, without even listening to this track, man, having a computer that breaks down and you don't have any backups of anything, and you just don't feel like doing it anymore, damn. Speaking of that, right now I'm doing a little bit of research in setting up my own, not setting up my own, but like redesigning and rethinking about my own backup system, because it's not solid as it is right now. Thinking about getting a NAS or a RAID kind of system, but it's really expensive. Do your backups, people. Do your backups. Dropbox is free for like 1 terabyte or something. That's always one solution. But in this case, Sarko, I'm sorry to hear all this, but man, if you have the urge to make music, allow yourself to make music. Even though this beat might be trash, I don't even know, but still. If you have the urge to come to create, gotta create. Sarko, 8 years ago. Let's listen to this one. Okay, clipped anyways. But yeah, Sarko, my only suggestion to you, get back to making beats. Man, get back to making beats. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. If this was what you were capable of doing 8 years ago, you gotta create. You gotta get back to it. This is good. You know, we have a lot of sample beats coming in, and we're playing a lot of sample beats. I make a lot of sample beats. But someone who samples orchestral stuff like this, you don't hear much of that these days. Maybe for a reason, maybe not. Using orchestral samples like that, like, you know, pizzicato strings and like choirs together with, just becomes bombastic and cool and like vibey. In this case, sure. I mean, I could complain about the drums. They could be worked on or changed or improved or whatever. It would also be really fun to just hear this track at a lower tempo, adding a little bit more swing, a little bit more. But you know, things have happened over the last 8 years. So this was a vibe and kind of a style. Let's see here, Sarko. Let's just mark you as played. Boom. I'm not saying that this is bad. I'm saying the opposite. This is good. If you haven't made anything since then, come on, get back to it. On your phone, iPad, get a sampler, a computer, whatever. You have a good ear for it. That's for sure. Because when you're working with samples like this, sometimes you can run into issues with pitch. You know, combining samples from different recordings is kind of a nightmare because everything is tuned to like not the same thing always. Sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. And it's, you know, string players being what they are could become problematic. You did a great job. It just fit together and it's cool. Feels like a war scene from, you know, a medieval kind of war thing, like Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing, D&D. By the way, the Dungeon Master has left the chat, I think. Yeah, the Dungeon Master doesn't seem to write anymore, at least. This beat is cool. Some things in the production could be fixed up. I think you know that. Like the drums have a few things going on and the bass line is not 100% rock solid. But, you know, 8 years ago and you just lost the inspiration or whatever to make music. And that's unfortunate, for real. Yeah, the kick drum is crazy. The kick drum is kind of cool, but it's in the mix, it just crashes with a few other things. But what's cool about this is that it seems like you used a lot of the same or a lot of different samples to create variations and stuff like that, which really, really helps something like that. If this was just a simple 4-bar loop, it would become boring really quickly. You saw that and you did something differently, and I think you made it work. Jedi mind tricks, someone pointed out. Yeah, sure. Jedi mind could do something on this. You know, that kind of thing. I think I saw you in the chat, Sarko, didn't I? Someone said this is my beat. And that was a while ago because I just keep running my mouth. D&D nerds for life. Marching. Okay, yeah, something like that. Marching to a fight, being like all rowdy. Yeah. Going to war with a melting pot. Yeah, exactly like that. Talking D&D kind of stuff. This is good. Sarko, thanks a lot for sending it over and allowing us to listen to a beat from 8 years ago. You made this 8 years ago. That's also... Damn. Someone that has an ear for using samples like that, getting everything aligned and be on beat and everything. Sarko, thanks a lot. You have officially been played. Let's go down here from someone called 12D. This is a name I've seen before. 12TY. So 12D. 12D. That's difficult for me to pronounce. 12D. This is my submission for the beat review. It's unfinished, but it's 2:39 long. I'll be Icon74 in the chat. Icon74, 12D. There we are into VLC. Let's motherfucking go. No, okay, let's not motherfucking go. I don't know. 1000 something. Okay, it's that one, my bad. Now, let's go. That's really loud on my end. Let me just nudge it a little bit. Let's just allow it to die. So that was a track from someone called Icon74 in the chat, who I haven't seen today, but still. Icon74. Cool. So a vibe with a lot of beats. A beat with a lot of vibes. That was what I was trying to say. You know, a lot of people in the chat room loves this one. Icon is in the chat. Cool. A lot of people in the chat loves this one. I mean, there's definitely an audience for the more dark, gritty, mysterious, evil kind of music out there. I could be one of them sometimes too. In this case, I am like 80% of the way there. I think it's really, really cool. But also, the type of music I make is normally kind of clean sounding or whatever. Honestly, for me as a producer, it has more to do with not having the balls to go crazy, not having being honestly being a little bit scared of going too dark, too gritty, because you always get to hear that it sounds muddy and whatever. And also, a personal preference thing, of course. In this case, I think this beat is good in so many ways, and one thing really helps this one to stand out for me. Let me see if I can explain that real quick. And you didn't do it. That note right there. Boom, da dum, boom, bam, boom, da dum, boom. We understand that. And then we have boom, boom. That just changes the entire vibe of it. Dum, da, dum, dum, da, dum, 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 dum. Whatever. That little thing that creates that little bit of tension. I mean, everything is really, really, really like minor. It's dark and it's gritty and it's minor and it's. And then we have this little glimpse of hopefulness that just dies off and everything's dark again. But that type of nuance and that type of contrast appeals so much to me. That's one of the problems I have with like dark music, like metal, like heavy metal, black metal, whatever you want to call it, that there's no contrast. It's just the entire time. In this case, we had a lot of darkness, a lot of grittiness, a lot of and then one single note every now and again that just brings out a little bit of hopefulness, a little bit of love, a little bit of beauty. That's great. And Chris has not left the chat. I just end up going on side quests and getting really nerdy about stuff. I wonder what that might be. I wonder what you might like nerding into tonight. That's my dungeon master, Chris. My dungeon master. We haven't even started yet, but whatever. This track, cool. Someone else pointed out that he would have loved to hear grittier drums. And yeah, I gotta agree. Even though I keep talking about liking contrasts and not liking when things are like over the top of anything, these more clean drums could work. But in this case, I think you gotta go full in, man. I think so. I think you need to go all in on the darkness. That snare is basically the entire thing I'm talking about. That's the issue with this one. We're getting a lot of attack, a lot of kick from the kick drum, which is cool. But then we have the snare drum. No, that one needs to be bigger, more snare. I don't know how. Maybe a different sample, maybe with a little bit of saturation, whatever like that, could help. The snare drum is what makes this one not fall apart. I don't want to be that drastic, but it could be improved by just switching out the snare sample, I think. But this is also this is a great lesson from this track right here. It's not too complicated at all when it comes to the notes and the actual samples in there. But all the ear candy, all the stuff that's going on, all the noises in the background, all the textures, all the ambient, that just takes this entire production to a whole different level. Your tape had stopped. Yeah, I know. I stopped it myself. Should we try to rewind it and see if it holds up? Because that puts even more tension on the tape. Normally I let it run like this until it gets really fast. Then I stop it just to let it not go too fast because it's crazy right now. Can you see the speed? It's almost scary sitting here. But it seems to work. Okay, I'm all tensed. If something breaks, it just breaks. It's not the end of the world, but it's still... If we could rewind it like this in one single go, that would be really cool. So imagine taking a beat like this one and running it through the reel-to-reel just to make it a little bit more gritty and dirty, taking even more of the high frequencies out. Could be cool. Not that I'm gonna do that, but we have a little bit more to go, and I know this is the beat review stream. We're not playing with tape recorders, but right now we are. We're talking like 40 more seconds or something, tops. Yes. Whew. We made it. That's cool. But I mean, normally I get into talking about frequencies a lot, and I'm talking about like the bass frequencies and then the high frequencies and what's the difference and what the balance is. In this case, everything like that is just thrown out the window because the beat itself is filtered, it's gritty, it's supposed to be like this. Could it be polished and brushed up and a little bit cleaner? Yes, it could. Would it benefit the track? No, it wouldn't. Not a second. And Icon says stuff in the chat that I've missed. I do prefer doing dusty, dark beats. Sure, I can tell. I've changed the drums loads of times. I just can't decide which ones to use. Now that's difficult. In my beat making videos, like streams or videos, you never see me replacing anything. Because when you start going into a track to replace the snare, everything changes. It normally shifts the vibe completely, and then you have to adapt, and you got to do this change and that change and this change, and then it becomes, a big thing. In this case, I think changing the snare could benefit the track, but if you've tried a few different ones, it sounds like you know what you're doing. And you landed on this one. It wouldn't have been my choice, but if you landed on this one and you're happy with it, fuck me and what I say, This track is cool. Kind of far from what I do, and a part of me wants to have the guts to do that kind of stuff myself, but I kind of don't. But I appreciate that kind of music a lot. So that's 12th. Let's see. That's over there. Let's get into another beat. Let's play a track from, I don't know. And I don't even want to count how many there are to give you guys a number. It's going to be too much to keep in mind. August. Another one with nothing in the email. August. No, I can't reply to the email. What am I doing? Download a beat. That's the one. Cool. So let's just say that this one comes from August. There's a whole last name, but nothing else. I don't want to be too much of a guy. A beat from someone called August. Let's go. Okay. So this is a vibe. This is cool. First of all, production-wise, I have a few issues with this one. I mean, the potential here is huge, but there's something missing. We talk a lot about frequencies, you know? Like the frequency range going from bass to the mids to the highs. In this case, I told you I wasn't muted. I know what I'm doing now. To me, it feels like we have a lot of stuff in the low end and we have a lot of stuff in the high end. A part of me, this could be a really nice and chilled and like mellow kind of vibey track, but I'm losing something. I'm missing something in the middle. It feels like, can I even use this one? Yeah, I can. For demonstration purposes, this is not making a sound, nothing like that. To me, it feels like some of the notes on like the piano, the Rhodes or whatever it is, are played up here. I mean, it's not up here. It's not like super plinky plonky, but you have a lot of stuff down here. You have some stuff up here. You know what I'm saying? I want some stuff here. It's a stupid way to kind of try to illustrate this. But to me, somehow in the track, it's good. It's all the vibes, all the sounds and everything. Everything's in tune and everything is on beat and everything is nice and, you know, the flow is there. But I just want, you know, a rhythm guitar. I never want rhythm guitars, but something that plays the part of the rhythm guitar to kind of hold the mid-range together. It's cool that it's a little bit bouncy with the hi-hat being a little bit all over the place. That's nice. But I just want to fill up. I just want to fill up the audio range here. I want to fill up all the empty space with something. Not necessarily in the entire track, but the major part of it needs something more. The foundation of the track isn't strong enough. You know? And that kind of flute thing or whatever it is, it works like this, but having a more of a solid foundation would just help it make sense. Sometimes now it feels like it's just chops of the so something in the mid range. Just some chords on the same piano or a different instrument. I don't even know. But something to just fill up the... I don't know. Mango, am I wrong? I got you. There's space there that can be filled. Yeah, and to me, there's space there that should be filled with something. I don't know what. I'm not saying that it has to be like, you know, the new instrument that I want you to add there. It's not supposed to like take too much of the focus out of everything else. Taking the focus from everything else. No, but just something that allows me as a listener to just, yeah, I know what's happening. We're going from this chord to that chord and, you know, because it's nice and melodic and it's really musical, but you're losing something in translation because you don't have that hollow space in the middle filled up. But then what you did with the distorted bass line over here, this is so cool. The arrangement is, you know, you've thought about this entire thing a lot. And it comes through and it's obvious and I do appreciate it. And when the bass goes into this distorted mode, that's cool. Okay, maybe it is that distorted for the entire track. I just noticed it at the middle part there. Okay, it's the same bass line, my bad. So good, so much potential. But I think what I'm talking about, this mid section in the frequency range, adding something in the foundation would help the entire track to just transform into something that's more palatable, I guess. Not that everything has to be palatable, but you know what I'm saying. The snare kills me. What's wrong with the snare? Come on. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the snare is not the best. I agree. The snare sample is fine, but it's too long. I would just shorten it to add a little bit more of the bounce, but whatever. Mango C4. I appreciate this listen and feedback. Thanks, man. Thanks a lot for. I just gotta say this again. Doing these beat review streams is so much fun for me, and having people like you and everyone else sending beats, it's a blessing for sure. And having people that kind of wants to hear me talking about these things and just, appreciating feedback or whatever. I know sometimes I can I know I can seem a little bit grumpy and a little bit too negative, and I'm complaining about stuff. Yeah, but that's also what this kind of stream is about, I don't want to sit here and just listen to the stuff and say, hey, pat on your back or whatever. If I would have sent something in to a show like this myself, I know that there's a lot of things to say about my music. Definitely. Good and bad. And, don't take what I say as... don't take it too hard. That's what I'm saying. Because we are now in a place where we're getting a lot of beats for these streams, and many of them are really, really good stuff. Really good stuff. So I just want to say that to everyone who joins us. Everyone is crazy good. That's my honest opinion. Even if I sometimes complain about the minor things, you are amazing. All of you. People are sitting in their own setups or beds or couches or whatever, creating music by themselves, from samples, from original instruments, whatever. People are making music. People like you and me, we're making music. We are producing music from nothing. I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna take an old record, take a little bit of sounds and do whatever, and I'm creating music. Do we even understand how crazy that is? It's like we're making art. And then we have this little forum where we can talk about it. You guys are giving each other feedback and tips and tricks and saying yeah, you're awesome, and I'm trying to do the same. All of us. We're fucking amazing. Who knew? Who knew that people could just be hanging out at home and just creating music? No, I'm not writing a song, playing the guitar. I'm just producing music. I understand drums, basses, I understand chords, I understand melodies. And you do too. We are fucking... It's crazy when you think about it. Did you make this piece of music? Yeah, everything. The rhythm, the sound design, the harmonies, the melodies. I did everything. You did. Everyone in here has the capability of just creating music out of... Thank you. Thank you for being what you are. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being a part of this. This is awesome stuff. Should we scroll in the email inbox and just pick that one? Oh, that's for the last show. My bad. I can't scroll that far. Gotta keep this in check. The list starts there. Okay. So let's go here. Oh, yeah, this is one of those that came in twice, but it works better on the computer. I understand now what's happening. No. Forget everything. This is 2 emails from the same guy. Freed beat. Hi, here's a beat I have for a future project. I'll probably call it Look Up. It has 9 tracks in total, 1 containing kick, snare, cymbal. What? Here's a beat I made for a future project. It has... Okay, the track itself has 9 tracks in total, 1 containing kick, snare, cymbal. It only contains piano, guitar, trumpet, plus a percussion loop. It was produced and mixed on the MPC-1 and mastered on a DAW. I'm looking forward to hearing what you think. Peace. And then there's another email. Hey, I wasn't sure my WAV file would pass in your previous message. Here's the MP3. No, man, I can download a WAV file. That's 30 megs. That's nothing. But thanks a lot for being for thinking about it. So I guess the name of this producer is Freed Beat. Free D B in one word. Freed Beat. Okay. Beat Owl says the quality of the tracks here is crazy. Crazy. I know. Maybe you guys like participate in like beat battles and stuff when people do kind of this thing but in a different way. Isn't the overall level here really, really high? And I've been open with that from the beginning. Anyone can send in. A beginner, a pro, whatever. Send a beat and we're gonna listen to it. How come the level is this high? Is it always like this? Are people this good? Or is it just my little crowd of people? I don't know. Now I have the hiccups. Huh. Well. Am I stupid for asking questions to the chat room and then just playing a beat going into the next one? Well. Made So Well is in a record store digging for records right now. That's cool. That's cool. So you're watching this or you're having this on your phone being in an actual record store digging for records. Big up. That's cool. Yours is the only channel I know that offers informed feedback like this. Okay. That's not true. It's the only one you know of, but I'm not the only one doing it. Time for dark mode. Okay, man. Yeah, that's not very dark, but it's blue. I made this whole thing with my cameras the other day, so it's brighter and happier. But this is dark mode, as good as it gets. Or this. Yeah, that's the dark mode. I've been checking out a lot of review channels and the beats are crazy these days. Lots of skilled people. Cool. This track, who was this from? Let's get back to business here. This one came from, okay, now I have messed up everything. Jesus. Yeah, Freed Beat. Let's listen to Freed Beat and this track. Boom. That's a little bit quiet. Hi. Yeah, that's a nice beat. You know, we call this stream beat review, and I'm reviewing beats, I guess. A beat like this to me is like, yeah, someone knows what they're doing. It's a nice and simple idea, but it's not simple to make it. And it's just solid, good stuff. The foundational idea here about the bum, 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 then waiting for it, going bum, bum, bum. So smart, so nice, so good. That's why I'm saying that it's simple, because it also feels cohesive. It feels like it makes sense. There's nothing too crazy sticking out anywhere. It's just good, perfect for a rapper, just a nice and simple thing. But then when you are kind of a seasonal producer, knowing what you do, you realize that there's a lot of things you can do in between the things. So even if like the foundation is bum, 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 then you have all the space in the world to do stuff around that. In this case, the bass line, of course, and then we have this vocal chop going in. Someone pointed out that this is a good snare drum, and I couldn't agree more. I don't love the reverb, but the snare is good. This is what happens when you have someone who just knows what they're doing, making a little bit of music, and it comes out good. Sometimes when you make stuff like this, you don't need layers upon layers upon layers of ear candy. You don't need too much craziness in terms of the arrangement. It holds up just as it is. Sometimes it's cool with like a good, a good well-seasoned Indian dish with like lentils and a lot of spices and whatever. Sometimes you just need cooked potatoes, In this case, I'm not saying that this is like the bread and butter of music production, but sometimes this is pretty much perfect in terms of production because it sounds that effortless. There might be a lot of work behind this to get to this point, but as a listener, it sounds cohesive and it makes sense in a way that's just music. So trying to break it down, we have the chords, boom, 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 and we have the drums, and we have the bass, and then we have a lot of shimmer stuff on top, which could be called ear candy. Maybe I'm just not using the right words, but to me, all that kind of stuff going on in the high frequencies, just being there as a texture, has a musical value here. It's not just noises. It's not just something you slap on it. It has a musical value and it plays a part with the musicality of everything else. Maybe that specific vocal chord isn't perfect. Vocal chop. And that little thing at the end, bring, dum. When you have a solid idea like that and you just keep working on it and you just lean into it, it's bound to be good. Sure, we could go into this and talking about like the fact that I think it could benefit from having louder drums to make it even a little bit more, placing it in the genre of hip hop beats a little bit more clearly, but we're talking like a decibel or two. So there's a lot of space in there. That's one of the things that makes this one sound so good and make it that easy to listen to, because there's a lot of space, but it's not hollow in the same way I talked about the other beat a few tracks ago. It's not hollow, it's just spacious. This is also good. You know, a whole B section. A whole B section, that's pretty much nothing. You just took one of the chops in the sample and just repeated it 4 times over. And it's a B section. Doesn't need to be more complicated than that. This is good stuff. From Freed Beat. Yeah. You know, this is... If you're struggling sometimes, just listen to something like this and understand that sometimes a simple, straightforward idea is sometimes better than the most elaborate kind of whatever. But yeah, it's a good mix. It's a good arrangement. It's solid, freaking good stuff. Could work for a rapper. Could work as an instrumental. Making me think about buses, which is not bad. I like buses. Well, some of the vocal chops. When it rounds out, it's cool. That one's nice. Okay. We could go through every like 10-second chunk of that. And we're not. But yeah. Cooking dinner, listening to beats. Good for you. Good for you. I think the drum sits nicely where they are, Beat Owl. Fair enough. I might be wrong. Free Beat. One of the stronger ones today, in my opinion. That's that one. And time is running out. It's already 10 past 10, and I keep saying that this is a 2-hour thing from 8 to 10. I don't feel like going. So we're going to do a few more just because I can. Here is another email. You know what? Here's another email. Hey, Accurate. My producer name is Saudi. Said A-W-D-Y. Said A-W-D-Y. Saudi. Oh. First time sending a beat over to review. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, cool. I thought I recognized the email address, but no. This is his first submission, so let's be extra hard on him and tell him how much he sucks and everything he did wrong. And then let's take his beat and every other beat in this stream and train my upcoming AI model on these tracks. Because that's what we're going to do. Yeah, let's be jerks to this guy and then let's train an AI model. Sounds amazing. Losing all my windows again. And I'm kidding, of course. We're going to be nice to this guy and we're not going to bother with anything that has to do with AI. Oh my god. That's a lot of sounds at once. Was not prepared for that. Okay, so OBS is that window. VLC is that window. That is that window. So we need to turn down the volume and then increase it slowly. Let's hear it. Okay. Honestly, we gotta go back into the email. No, it's not the same one. Okay. Honestly, I don't know what to do. COD in the chat says, "Hey, this is my beat." Cool. Right now, I'm not sure I'm gonna play it. Actually, maybe I just need to lower the volume on my headphones. Maybe that's a trick. You sent it in, and I picked it. So let's play it. Just to explain myself, it's a lot. It's too much immediately. It's just really difficult to listen to. But let's do 2 minutes of this one, just to give you guys, you should be played as everyone else. And that's 2 minutes. So let's try to keep track of this guy in the chat room. I need to increase the volume here again. 1 2 1 2. Okay. So this one was who was this? Who was this? Zod. Okay, cool. So, I don't know what you guys think of this. Please help me out with this one in the chat. I need help. I kinda understand what this producer was going for. Someone mentioned DiBiase in the chat, and I think that makes sense. The difference being that DiBiase does things that's kind of this crazy for a brief moment of time. And then he gets back to something that's a little bit less busy, a little bit more nuanced and whatever. In this track, we had full chaos from the first second to the last. I guess when you're working on something like this and you just play it for hours or however you work, maybe you get into the zone of just accepting the chaos and just whatever. As a listener, being thrown into a track like that, being that crazy from the get-go, you gotta understand that it's gonna be a little bit difficult, you know? I turned down the volume on my headphones, which helped a lot, honestly, kind of a lot. But at the volume I had my listening on for the rest of the tracks, this was pretty much unbearable because of the amount of stuff. HBR says it's nice to sometimes go messy, but sometimes you need to solve it with a kind of a resolution. Like when you're playing weird jazz chords, end on end. No, when you're playing weird jazz chords to end on another chord to resolve it. I think it's the same here. Yeah, that's a good comparison. That's a good reference. Sometimes when you listen to jazz music, it becomes like too much, too atonal and just too crazy. So then you need to resolve all that kind of tension. Chris says a bit too busy. Part of my brain liked it, as it just scrambled all my thoughts. Kind of like disruptive white noise. Disruptive white noise. But then it just kept attacking. So it became too much. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I like what you got going with the sample, but the drums were a bit too off to me. Okay, cool. So let's try to break it down like that. Some of the melodic, more musical parts in here has potential, for sure. But when you align that up with the drums being just as crazy, with the different effects and the side chaining, pumping, and everything just being overly compressed like that, it becomes, for someone like me, who's a producer and musician himself, it becomes hard to listen to. Not because it's bad, just because it's too much. It's too intense. To me, at least. But that's also me being kind of a jazzy hip-hop dude, being old school and all that. But sometimes, yeah, Beat Out said it. Music needs to breathe sometimes. And yeah, it does. When you listen to DiBiase, I mean, that's the only point of reference I can think about here. Doing these super, like, crazy, side-chained, over-compressed things. That works because he's also really musical. And then normally something just, that goes on for 20 seconds and then something drops out and whatever. So again, contrast is an important thing here. I think I saw some new shades of red in our host face. Yeah. I had a hard time listening to it. I did. Not because it's bad, just because it's too much. Again, I keep repeating myself, but that's the only issue here. Let's play it again at a lower volume just to see if it's palatable. I mean, there's a beat there. There's a snare that keeps the pulse of it all. The first thing here would be to just increase the drums, take out like 50% of the drum sounds and increase the volume of the drums, take everything else down. Because right now it just feels like this pumping, over-compressed thing that's just too much. The vibe here is not bad. It's cool. But the production, we gotta talk about the beat, the music, and the production. Not the mixing per se, but like the production of it. Again, with the analogy of cooking, for instance. You don't want to take like a soup and add parsley and dill and chili and garlic and cinnamon and cacao and sugar and pepper, and you just don't. I don't even know what I said, but like all of those flavors at once becomes too much, right? So pick and choose. Choose your battles. It's mostly the drums, I think. It might be. That might be the case. That the drums itself, the amount of different drums sounds and like the rhythm. Yeah. Ty says just it needs to be more breaks in the beat. Needs to be the last 45 seconds or so. Okay. So the producer of this was Zen or Zev or something, who just became totally silent in the chat, which is not a good sign. Maybe I'm too harsh. I don't know. I understand the whole reference and the thing about lo-fi beats being like off. It's not a lo-fi beat, but being off the grid, being a little bit flowy like that. That's cool. And using a lot of compression could be a creative tool. I just think it went a little bit south on this one. If there's any way for you in your DAW or sampler or whatever to kind of no, you're in too hard, I'm just listening. Saudi is in the chat. I want to try to be as constructive as possible. Everything doesn't need to be super chilled and relaxed and laid back. You can do aggressive stuff that's punchy and in your face for sure. But I do have a little bit of a hard time putting my exact words on what's the issue here. Making it even worse, saying that you appreciate the feedback. Damn, we're not giving you any feedback. We're just complaining. And that pitch shift, it's a cool idea, but since the production of it all is this in your face and this much, that just becomes, hey, now another crazy thing happened. He changed the pitch of it. Whoa. Maybe not in a good way. That vocal thing, like the main together with the organ, that's cool. That's really cool. Sonically, it just works together and it makes a lot of sense musically, so that works. Maybe this is just a case of too much drums being a little bit too crazy and just too much compression. Maybe that's all that's wrong about this. Jax says it also. It has something. It was something there though. Yes, there is something there. The underlying melody thing is dope. I agree. It's dope. The only issue is it's too loud. The mix is mastered too loud. The beat needs to be mixed better. I like this. Most fair. Yeah, maybe that's all. Maybe it's just I'm talking about compression. It could also be just the master limiter being all crazy. We just need more dynamics. That's what I'm trying to say. Right now, I think if I open up Logic and just import the file, it's gonna mess up my computer, I think, or my audio settings. Logic is actually open in the background, so maybe not. Is the audio still? Everything still works. Cool. Let me take that audio file into Logic. Okay, that's pretty much what I thought. Can I even show that? That would be cool. That would be cool. Let's try. Add video capture device. No. Screen capture. Okay. From. Not from that one. From that one. Yes. So that's the audio file. That's what it looks like. And that tells us a lot about the dynamics of the track. Honestly, I thought it would be even worse than this. Even less dynamics and even more like cranked to the top. But this is what the audio file looks like. But sure, we got to give him credit for making something that's a little bit unconventional and out of the ordinary. Ethan says it too. I mean, it's not a straight brick. No, it's not. It could be... No, that's the wrong computer. It could be... it could be like that, right? So it's not a straight... This is what we call a sausage in Swedish. It's not that, but you don't have a lot of contrast either between like... Well, it doesn't look that bad, honestly. So maybe that's not everything. Oh well, too many screens, too many monitors, too many things. And that's me. So it's hard to say exactly what it is. I just think we need this track to be less intense. How? Not sure. Maybe it's a mixing thing with compression. Maybe it's a drum thing. Not really sure. There are parts in there with the vocals and the organ that is cool and has potential. You just did something about the mix, something with the production that makes it honestly crazy, loud, crazy intense, crazy everything, and it's not distorting. Too cluttered, too much stuff fighting for space. Yep, that's one thing. Let's move along. I would love to hear a second version of this. If you could find a way to just make it more palatable and easier to listen to by still allowing it to be crazy. It's not that I'm talking about, it's got to be 10 BPM slower and super jazzy. No. But something needs to be done. It would be really cool to hear a version of it that's different. Now I found out I can do this. Hey, Accurate, my producer name is Zaudi. First time sending a beat over. And then we did this to you. I'm sorry, man. I'm really sorry. The plan here is not to bash on you and to be like hateful or evil or anything. Just think there are things that could be improved, and I have a hard time putting my finger on it. Let's go to this one of the more recent ones, from Lacinius. Last song submission, I used a snare from your Salt beat pack. Love all the submissions so far. Keep up the good work, the dope work, everyone. The beat is called Mick Jenkins. The producer. It says in the title. I'm sorry. Artist name Glenn and Gerard. And if I'm not misremembering, the last guy who used a snare from my sample pack was not making hip hop. This could be something else.
Walking on ice, talk to me nice. Soak up this water, bitch, y'all all be right. Ain't nobody left but y'all can't all be right. Can't argue with that, we got red paint all for the night. Nigga feel like Ross Cole, got it in boat, no Costco. Backwood with the front toe, shit hit harder than it needs to. It's a bad batch of gumbo, niggas mixing shit that they ain't need to. Yeah, hustling like Dumbo, gotta listen to the little people. We got big dreams, feel like niggas set big screens for the mid-range. These free throws, talking free range chicken, keep that shit see-through for the family. Gotta know I grip a handbrake, niggas drift apart, fuck a handshake. And I try to keep it low-key, niggas don't know how to keep it low-key. Nigga, all we smoke is the mandrake, all we need is a campfire. We got stories niggas can't take, I got triggers fingers can't squeeze. They can't tell me what I can't say. Talk to me nice. Talk to me nice. Talk to me nice. Talk to me nice. Walking on ice, talk to me nice. Soak up this water, bitch, y'all all be right. Ain't nobody left but y'all can't all be right. Can't argue with that, we got red paint all for the night.
Cool stuff. So again, we had another beat that's a little bit out of the ordinary, and this is cool. First of all, I couldn't help myself from paying a lot of attention to everything that went on with the drums, with the kick drum specifically. Because, you know, me, I use one kick sample and maybe two different volumes of it going back and forth. This one had, I don't even know how many kick drum samples in different pitch values and everything. Beat Owl says, I used the snare from your sample pack and I put a lot of reverb on it. No, if you download one of my sample packs, you're not allowed to use reverb on the snare. You know? Beat Owl. But yeah, the kick drum here, the programming, the pitch shifting things, really cool. The overall like sample here feels like heavy metal guitars or something. With a synth.
Walking on ice, talk to me nice. Can't argue with that, we got red paint all for the night. Nigga feel like Ross Cole, got it in boat, no Costco. Backwood with the front toe, shit hit harder than it needs to. It's a bad batch of gumbo.
And the whole double tempo feel you're creating here, sometimes I'm a little bit allergic to that, but in this case it really, really works. It makes me think of like Run the Jewels or something like that. I know there's a rapper on this too, but you know, that kind of like industrial sounding, hard knocking stuff, kind of foreign to me and the stuff I make myself. But I really appreciate stuff like this. It's really cool.
Niggas mixing shit that they ain't need to. Yeah, hustling like Dumbo, gotta listen to the little people. We got big dreams, feel like niggas set big screens for the mid-range. These free throws talking.
But of course, in this genre, you don't have a lot of definition in the bass, in the lower bass frequencies, because the kick drum takes a lot of the space. And that's a valid choice to do. But a part of me feels like, you know, what would happen if you also had a few sub-bass notes thrown in there sometimes? Between some of the kick drums, just creating kind of like a bass line to help the rhythm even more. Maybe it's not possible. Maybe it's a bad idea. I'm just curious to see what it would have been. Because most of the low frequencies here are this really hard knocking kick drum. Kick drums, I should say.
Chicken, keep that shit see-through for the family. Gotta know I grip a handbrake, niggas drift apart, fuck a handshake. And I try to keep it low-key, niggas don't know how to keep it low-key. Nigga always smoke, is the man.
And of course, this is obviously a rap beat. Listening to this beat as an instrumental would probably not be that interesting. because I guess it's pretty repetitive in itself, because the pulse and the rhythm is dumba 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 dumba, you know. But it's cool. The overall production here and the fact that you used a vocal on this. I don't normally say this, but the fact that you put a vocal on it was a good choice.
Break. All we need is a campfire. We got stories niggas can't take. I got triggers fingers can't squeeze. They can't tell me what I can't say. For me.
And of course, a track like this also deserves like a huge breakdown somewhere in the track. This is only like 1.5 minutes of it, but somewhere a track like this kind of needs space to breathe too. In like a section that's, no drums, nothing, and maybe like instruments on a higher frequency just cutting through, just to switch things up. But yeah, I see what you did here with the drums. Awesome work. Great stuff. Hands down. Cool. Different in that it's like distorted guitars. Different in that the tempo is double feel in a pretty cool way, but a nice and solid production for sure. From Glenn and Garrett. Good stuff. Good stuff. Nice job. Good work. Well played. Nicely job. Did I hear a cricket sample? Maybe you did. Maybe you did. There was a lot of stuff going on. Hearing some flamming on the first kick and first snare. Maybe so. Maybe so. Did my submission ever come through? That's a good question. Honestly, I have a lot of submissions, and some of you guys are sending more than one. Symphonic Beats, looking at you. Symphonic Beats, you sent me a beat yesterday, and I got another one 5 minutes ago. Don't cheat the system. Don't cheat the system. Now I think it's time for you guys to pick the beat. I'm starting to read all the names now and going through it that way, which makes it less fair. So I don't want to count the entire list. Let me just, like this. Give me a number between 1 and 15. That should cover all of them, I think. 1 and 15. A number between 1 and 15. And the first time more than one person is saying the same number, it's going to be picked. Chris says 52. Well, of course you're saying 52. Chris, 52. So as soon as I see the same number twice from two different people, it's going to be that one. We have 6, we have 2, we have 7, and 7 again. So we have 2 7s. So 7, and I'm going to decide that it's from the top. Okay, so number 7. 1, 2, 3. Played. 4, 5. Played. Okay, stop saying played. I'm just confusing myself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Flatlanders. Flatlanders. Hey, nice to see you back on YouTube. Made a loop on the MPC-1 and just added stuff around. I like it to be simple. I also use the SP404 for effects and FL Studio just to get it louder. It's a 16-bar verse and 8-bar hook with an intro and an outro. Hope you enjoy it and looking forward for your feedback. Greetings from Germany, Flatlanders. Dankeschön, Ned Flanders. Ich bin ein Musik... I don't know German. So this is going to be the last. Chris52 says played. Yeah, confusing me even more. Thank you. So the last beat for today will be from Mr. Flatnanders, which is obviously a play on Ned Flanders, but yeah, Flatnanders. Bitte schön, bitte schön. No, this is fun. Doom Traveler says, Ich bin ein Planetenverdig. So you're a commander on a spaceship planet, something? The last track for today from Ned Flanders goes a little bit like this. Nice. A really good one to end on, for sure. A really good one to end with. Can't even speak anymore. So you mentioned that you like to keep things simple, and you did. But in a really effective way. I mean, let's point out a few of the important details here. The fact that the guitar part or whatever it is wasn't bim, 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 bim. You know, it's not quantized to the grid. Boom dum 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 dum. That helps a lot, because if every single note was like on a grid, I know that's not your style of music or whatever, but if it was like chopped up and placed on the grid, dum 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 dum, it would have been so less fun, so much more boring and just not interesting to listen to. So just the minor things like that, just making sure that the timing of the notes fits with the drums, makes a lot of sense. Takes you a long way. No compression, no side chaining. Of course, there could be compression, but you know, no crazy side chaining, nothing too crazy going on at all. Just straight up punchy drums, that guitar thing, a bass line, and some ear candy. That's good. Keeping it simple is one of the more difficult things to do in all kind of creativity, I think. Allowing yourself to keep things simple and not overworking things is one of the things I need to work on myself. Just letting go, just accepting that this is what it is and this is good enough. This is cool. And I think you made a perfect example of that. And you know, when you have something this open and this spacious, and then you just add that thing over here. It almost sounds like a cat saying meow. Just adding small things like that are still kind of an instrument, still in pitch, still working in terms of the musicality. That also takes you a long way. When you have a foundation that's that simple and that solid, just adding, it's cool. Talking about like the boom bap saxophone, stuff like that is cool. So, is someone upset? Nitrox. What if you just played all of the beats that were submitted as quickly as possible before leaving? Are we just going to listen to all the rest of the submissions for, what's that going to be? 20 minutes? No. So let's just say that we do that. We have somewhere around 15, maybe 17 submissions. Let's say 15. 2 minutes each would be 30 minutes of just playing the beats without talking about them, without like helping out at all, without giving any feedback or anything. Is that a good idea? No one's upset. No, I misunderstood. But to me, that sounds like a terrible idea. Benji's upset. Of course you are. No, I understand. He wasn't upset, but he raised a valuable point, though. Because, what I do here and what I kind of think that this stream is me and you providing feedback, giving criticism and love and everything like that. But we're not giving every submission that comes in a chance to be heard. Right? So does it make sense to actually play all the rest of the submissions and just leaving it like that? To me, doesn't make sense. Beat Owl agrees with me, and Chris52 is wonderful. We are here for the comments and feedback. We are here for the banter. Cool. Actually, I think that's a good idea because I got not played for the last 3 shows and I submitted 3 times. This would be cool to be played. And that's a perspective I really, really understand. Seriously, I do understand that. Taking the time to send me an email with a submission and it just doesn't get played, that's disappointing. I understand. I totally understand that. My old system, by the way, just obviously, we're not going to listen to any more beats. We're not going to do any more reviews of the tracks. And I'm not going to sit here and play music for 30 minutes without talking about it today. We're going to end this show soon. So feel free to just sign out. By the way, where are we in terms of numbers? 50, 40, okay. This is a valuable point and it's worth taking into consideration. The old system I had was worse, I think. I listened and I played everything. But I had like, what was that? Like 5 minutes when I opened up the form on the website, and you had 5 minutes to send in your beats, and I had to shut it because too many came in. And I think that's even worse Because what if you don't have the best internet service in the world? You know, that's not fair. So opening up the submission window now, 24 hours beforehand, I think that's more fair. A queue of sorts. Maybe a good middle. Let's move this one there. Maybe a good middle ground would be to have some sort of display in OBS to show who's up next. That's not bad. That's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. Often less than five what? Symphonic beats, I did that too. I just accepted submissions when I was live. Like, we actually went live and talked for 5 minutes, and then I opened up the form on the website. You had to go to the form, submit. And I think I had the form open for like, seriously, a couple of minutes, and I had like 30 beats. Or 5 minutes. Often less than 5. Sure, we could have the submission form open for like 4 minutes, and I had more beats than I was able to cover. Because I'm taking my time. And that's not going to stop. That's what I imagine this show to be, and the value of it to be. That I take the time and we talk about things, and people say stuff in the chat room. Sometimes I pick it up and sometimes not. I think that's the stream, that's the show, that's the concept. But when people may leave if they aren't on the queue, then people may leave if they aren't on the queue. This doesn't have to be self-serving. It's nice to hear other people's work too. It's great to wait. It's great to wait. It is when your beat does get played and makes that so much more special. Okay, that's cute. That's cute. You know, if anyone has any proper suggestions about how to do this in a better and more fair way, I'm totally open for listening to some kind of advice or getting some help about this. Because I do realize what you're saying. Sending in a beat, taking the time to make the email and send it over, attach a file and all that, and then maybe even go in here, sitting around and just listening to the stream without being played. That's not what I intended. When I first started doing this, the most important thing for me was that I'm going to listen to everything. And then, of course, that doesn't work when I get like 40 beats, 50, 60. Doesn't work. Now I'm getting fewer, good and bad. But still, if we made a timed schedule like that, we would... That's also a thing. I loved when we did it that live, because everyone in the stream who sent in a beat on the forum on the website knew that they were going to be played. So they stayed for the rest of the show and just hung out. You don't play favorites, so that's half of fairness. Maybe check on to see if the person... Symphonic. Maybe checking in to see if the person in the chat is in the chat before playing. Like a check-in. That's actually not bad. Like opening up the email and saying like, hey, the next beat is from Symphonic Beats. Are you here? Tell me that you're here in the chat, and then we're going to play you. And whenever that's confirmed, I'm going to play it. I kind of like that idea. What you're doing is good, to be honest. Not everyone can be played. No. That will never be fixed. I'm never going to be able to play everything because I'm getting a lot of stuff. In this case, it's less than it used to be, but still, if we have like 15 beats now that I haven't even gone through, Google Chrome is the one I use for this. So 13 unread, and also some stuff that I got before that I just read, but I haven't listened to it. So honestly, we're closer to like 20 submissions today that hasn't been played. Chris52, play all tracks at once. Multitasking. Worth some thought. Now I'm not following. You would have less people played on waiting for them though. Some people can't really be here for the show because of work. No, but you know, we can't address that. Hey, we had a good illustration of that abstract beat today. First you didn't want to play it, and then finally we took some time to listen to it, and it was worth it. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. I want to give everyone a chance, you know? But with everyone, that can't mean everyone that sends in a beat. No. Nitrox. Would it be fucked up if you listen to the beats before choosing to really go into the details about them? No, that wouldn't be fucked up, but it would take more time than I want to spend. And the danger there is that I'm picking and choosing, playing my favorites. And I don't want this to be any type of competition for anything. You know, why would I pick a beat that's not good just to have some opinions about it? No, I want this to feel as live and as real as possible. It's not a bad idea. I've thought about it before, like going through the tracks in beforehand. Could just do that on my walk to work or whatever. But no. I think Symphonic's idea, the one about shouting people out, making sure that they're here. Is that a good idea? I think it is. You could play them as a mixtape to start the stream or to end the stream. Well, sure, I could just put them all in a playlist now and just play it and leave. But what's that, you know? That's not even talking about not posting original content. It's just a picture of my studio with an empty chair and just your music being played. Nah. One thing I could do that I've thought about, because I'm noticing that I'm just really long-winded sometimes. What we could do is to just play a track for 2 minutes and then giving me, like, for real, 4 minutes to just talk about it as in-depth as I can for 4 minutes. Reading your comments and going through that for like 2 minutes and jumping into the next one. Just standardize the whole process in a way. But that puts a lot of pressure on me too, to say everything that I want to say in that amount of time. And just having a clock would make it more fair and would allow me to play more tracks. But I kind of hate that idea. Yeah, Symphonic Beats is out. Thanks a lot for being here. And I'm sorry that I didn't play your beat, of course. But again, I can't really find a good solution to play all the tracks that I, even if I want to. So yeah, we're not getting a lot of great solutions here because it's not that simple to fix. The call out thing is definitely a good idea. Yeah, I agree. I sent you Russian boom bap. Yeah, I saw that. I saw there was an email about Russian boom bap. Cool. You'll be the boom bap beat version of the lo-fi girl if you just leave the beat streaming. Yeah, that's not what we do. This is about the feedback. It's about the words. It's about the criticism, the ideas. It is. So yeah. Okay, guys. This has been a great episode, a great beat review live stream. Getting into all this stuff at the end here is, beneficial to me if we could figure something out. We couldn't, and that's life. I'm gonna think about this and I'm not promising anything. I'm gonna think about this, But for now, this is how it is. You send beats and you might be picked, and then we listen to it and play it and talk about it and whatever. And I think we had a good time. And again, I am impressed and surprised and baffled that the quality is what it is. You guys are so great, and I really appreciate all of you. Time to leave. Thanks a lot. Peace out. Good night.